Hey guys, welcome back to Snowball Investing. This is going to be the March edition of the Road to Retirement series. And if you're new to the channel or new to this series, what I do is track my investment journey of essentially retiring early or FIRE or whatever you want to call it. And how I do it is I share my entire investment portfolio, what I've got, what I've been investing in, how things have been performing, and hopefully share a few insights along the way. This is going to be a fairly short and sweet video as there's not been too many changes, although there is a fair bit of volatility in the market, mainly driven by the tariff. Trump has been touting out and putting on countries, but volatility can equal opportunity as stocks pull back. That presents us an opportunity to buy stocks at greater prices. So I have been buying semi-heavily this past month. But I'll walk through that all in this update. Jumping straight into the total value of the portfolio. So last month on the 20th of Feb, it sat at 512,000. That's bumped up to 522,000 this month. So a 10 grand increase or a 2% increase, which is not too shabby given the volatility in the market. The reason it's jumped up, given the volatility, is probably because I'm making such significant contributions to each of these accounts. And that's the plan, to put in as much as I can early on, get to that kind of £1 million mark as quickly as I can. And then compound interest is really going to kick in and do a lot of the hard work for me. But generally speaking, in the past year or so, everything's been ticking upwards quite nicely. Obviously a pullback on the capital gains this month, but that's fine because now I'm buying these stocks at much better prices. So for me, that's even better long term. So starting from the top, looking at my pension. So pensions pretty much remain unchanged. So it still sits at 153,000 given the pullback. Given my company makes a very generous 12% contribution match, I'm making the most of that, and that's really starting to show in the figures now. So 0% increase, but the total unrealized gains from a pension at the minute sits at £43,821. Looking at my spouse's pension, that sat at 20,503 last month and pretty much remains unchanged. Obviously not contributing as much into my spouse's pension, although we do want to get a fairly good balance across the two if we can. Next up, looking at the free trade ISA. That went up from 250,000 to 253. That's a 1% increase and an unrealized gain of 174,000. Fortunately, I was able to max out the £20,000 limit of this ISA. And if you haven't done so already and you're also in that fortunate position, please do so before that deadline. My spouse has a ISA with Vanguard, and this was maxed out in the previous financial year. That's down sort of 4% to 21,000. And that's just down with the general market. I believe this is all in the S&P 500. So as the market's pulled back, so has this. But this just will sit there and compound in the long run. Next up, we have the bigger change in this portfolio, which is my spouse's current trading 2-1 ISA in this financial year. And that almost doubled from 10.6 grand to 20 grand. And the reason for that is we've maxed out this ISA. So we rejigged some finances. I used to have a Vanguard GIA, sold that out. Unfortunately, we'll be able to max out this year's ISA limit, which is also £20,000. We luckily have that spare cash lying around, although I think it will be optimistic to say we will max both ISAs next year. But, we've got that money in. We can pull it out if we need to, although I don't expect we will. My free trade GIA contains some more volatile tech stocks, so it wasn't a surprise when it went from 18,384 to 16.7 grand. So that's a 10% decrease, and I'm no longer adding anything contribution-wise to this account. I have some work shares with the company I work for. That's up from 23.4 to 23.9 grand, so about a 2% increase. I am contributing a little bit each month to these work shares, and it comes out of my pay packet essentially, and I get discounted prices on them. And the company I work for, I won't say which company it is, but has been performing quite well. It's a solid company, and I don't really have any concerns long term. Last but not least, we have my crypto portfolio, which is pretty much made up of Bitcoin and a bit of Ethereum. So it went from 13.7 to 13 grand. So that's a 5% decrease. Again, not adding anything more to this. I think I bought everything I needed to buy. Surprised it's not been hit more, if I'm totally honest, but it's a long-term play for me, so I don't really track the day-to-day or month-to-month changes. I just do it for the purposes of this video. That's going to conclude it for this month's update. It was short and sweet, but next month I should have a bit more in-depth video for you guys. It's a new tax year, so I'll kind of walk you through how I'm thinking about how I want to approach it. So I'll catch you in the next month's update.